the office.
Yeah.
You know, it's a place that's defined by so much more than just, I don't know, desks and quarterly reports. It's this dynamic environment where your success can really hinge on one critical skill that I think a lot of us we underestimate it. And that's communication.
Yeah, but not just communication in the general sense.
Right.
We're not talking about just translating words or, having a big vocabulary. We are talking about mastering the structure and the tone of professional interaction.
That's it. That's the term we're using, office English.
Exactly. And that's precisely the core of this deep dive. We've gone through a whole stack of source material that's built around these, real world, super effective professional dialogues. And this isn't about learning vocabulary lists from a textbook. It's about decoding the linguistic architecture that separates people who sound merely fluent from those who sound genuinely authoritative, truly professional. They get the unwritten rules of, you might call conversational commerce.
Okay, let's unpack that. I like that. So our mission today, it's a very practical one. We want to be your shortcut to competence.
A shortcut, yeah.
We're distilling the most critical patterns, the nuggets of knowledge from all these different scenarios we've looked at. This is really a practical guide. We're going to take you through handling the professional workday from the very first hello in the hallway,
right,
all the way to that high stakes moment where you have to report a big project delay to your boss or even a client.
And I think the immediate benefit for you, for the listener, is just how fast you can apply this stuff.
Totally.
We're focusing on phrases you can use right away, but more importantly, we're digging into the strategy, the why behind them. Why do they work?
Yes.
You're essentially bypassing that painful trial and error phase that takes months, sometimes years to get right.
Oh, absolutely. I've been there.
We all have. Instead, you're getting the exact language patterns that high-performing professionals use, to manage expectations, to build rapport, and honestly, to maintain control in a situation.
So we're covering 5 distinct scenarios today, right? All connected, but each with its own specific set of rules. And we're starting literally the second you walk through the office door.
That's right. The daily warm-up.
We began with what we're calling the daily warm-up. And this is a segment, a lot of people might dismiss. They think it's trivial small talk.
Yeah, just saying hi.
Exactly. But that initial professional greeting, it really sets the psychological frame for every single interaction you're going to have for the rest of the day.
It's huge.
And our source material, it really emphasizes a clear, universally appropriate starting point when you're greeting a coworker.
It has to be simple. That's the first thing. Simple, but also highly functional. So the core dialogue that we see again and again starts with something like, "Morning, Daniel. How's everything going?"
Okay, morning, Daniel.
The elegance here is in its minimal intrusion. Morning is just professional shorthand. It's less formal than good morning, but it's still, respectful.
Right.
And then, how's everything going? That question it's warm enough to acknowledge the person as a human being, but it doesn't demand a complex, personal, emotional deep dive.
Oh, yeah, it's not how are you feeling about your life right now.
Exactly. It's what I'd call a linguistic open door. It shows you're approachable, but it also signals that you respect professional boundaries.
I think that balance is the whole game, really. The light but friendly approach, as the source calls it.
It is.
Because if you ask something like, "Hey, how was your weekend?" that could easily turn into a 5-minute discussion about, their kid's soccer game or a trip they took.
Right. And you might not have that time.
You probably don't. How's everything going?
Yeah.
Keeps the focus, even if it's implicitly, on the professional sphere.
Precisely. And in, North American and a lot of European corporate cultures, this level of small talk it's almost a ritual.
A ritual, that's a good word for it.
It confirms social cohesion. It says, we're a team, we see each other. If you fail to offer this kind of light greeting, you actually risk being seen as abrupt or maybe even inaccessible. Cold, yeah. But the next step in this little dialogue is where professional time management immediately kicks in.
Okay, so this is the status update we have to master.
Yeah.
The professional response, according to the material, is something like, "Morning, Maya. Pretty good, thanks. I'm just catching up on some emails."
Okay, let's break that down. What really stands out here is the deliberate conciseness and how it manages the flow of the conversation. By saying, "I'm just catching up on some emails," you've given a very concise, non-detailed summary of what you're doing.
You're not listing the emails. You're not complaining about them.
No, you are telling your colleague two things at the same time. One, I am engaged in productive work right now.
Right.
And two, I see you. I recognize your presence. And this subtle move, it manages the expected length of the conversation. You've signaled that you're focused, which gently puts a time limit on the chat.
Okay, but let me challenge that a bit. What if Daniel, the person you greeted, gets a little pushy? Or maybe just curious, what if Maya follows up with, "Oh, which emails? Anything urgent I should know about?"
That's a great question.
How does the professional deflect that without killing that light, friendly tone we just established?
Yeah, that's a real world challenge. The key is redirection and prioritizing. So Daniel might respond with something like, "Nothing for you yet, thankfully."
Thankfully, I like that.
It adds a bit of light humor, right? And then he continues, "Just clearing the overnight backlog before the 10 a.m. meeting. We can chat about it later if anything critical pops up."
Okay, so a lot is happening there.
A ton. Notice the phrase, "Nothing for you yet, thankfully." It injects that humor and reassurance. But then, more importantly, it immediately links his current task
The emails?
back to a known future event, the 10 a.m. meeting. And that reinforces his busy but, very necessary schedule. He's not just busy, he's preparing for a shared commitment.
That linking to a future event. It's beautifully illustrated in the next line of this structured dialogue we're looking at. This is where the colleague is sharing plans. Same here. I've got a meeting with a marketing team at 10, so I'm trying to review the agenda beforehand.
Yes, this is a highly strategic move. In professional communication, setting clear expectations is it's vital. By stating, "I've got a meeting with the marketing team at 10, you've established a non-negotiable deadline for what you're doing right now.
It's a verbal do not disturb sign for 9:55 a.m.
It is. And the structure stating the goal and then the preparatory action, it uses this small talk moment to provide genuine actionable context for the other person.
Right.
It prevents that miscommunication later. When a colleague tries to interrupt you 5 minutes before the meeting, they can't be annoyed because you already told them you had this deadline.
Okay, now here's where it gets, I think, really interesting for team dynamics. This is the offering support phase. The dialogue goes, "Sounds busy? Let me know if you need any help preparing."
That phrase it's an absolute gold standard in any kind of collaborative environment.
Let me know if you need any help.
Yes, let me know if you need any help preparing. It's what I'd call a low commitment, high impact phrase.
Low commitment, high impact. Explain that.
Well, it demonstrates active team-mindedness. It shows empathy. These are crucial for building, psychological safety in a workplace. But the low commitment part is that it requires the colleague to initiate the follow-up.
So the ball is in their court.
Exactly. It manages your time, but it clearly establishes you as a supportive resource they can turn to.
Okay, I think we need to dive a little deeper on the boundaries here. Because if I offer that and my colleague immediately says, "Yes, actually, can you read this entire 20-page document for me right now?"
Like a common fear, for sure.
How do I professionally retract that offer, or at least redefine it, without looking like a jerk?
That's a great scenario. And the answer lies in what you could call conditional rescoping.
Conditional rescoping.
You have to acknowledge the importance of their task while gently reinforcing your own constraints. A professional response would be something like, "Absolutely, I'm happy to glance at the key takeaways for you."
Okay, glance at the key takeaways.
Yes, and then you have the condition. "But I really need to focus on this agenda review until 10. How about we quickly identify, say, the top 3 sections you need me to look at right now?
Oh, that is fantastic.
You see what it does? It shifts the focus from total open-ended assistance to targeted immediate value.
Right.
You maintain all the professional goodwill you just established with the initial offer, but you don't have to sacrifice your own deadline to do it.
That is such a useful tool. And of course, the professional standard for the other side of this, for accepting politeness, it remains very simple. Thanks. I appreciate that.
Simple, direct, and it acknowledges the supportive gesture. It closes the loop. So if we summarize this entire first segment, the function of this morning dialogue is so much greater than just saying hello.
It really is.
It's an exercise in social lubrication and expectation management. By using language that is consistently polite, light, and friendly, as the source material puts it, you establish approachability and mutual respect.
And that becomes the necessary baseline for all the high-stakes conversations that are going to follow later in the day.
Exactly. You've warmed up.
All right, let's move from that casual sphere of the morning greeting into what can be a high-pressure environment.
Mm-hmm.
The conference room.
The meeting.
Meetings are where collective effort is supposed to be crystallized into action.
Supposed to be.
And our source material provides a brilliant simulation of a weekly team meeting. They're reviewing an app launch. So we need to really dissect the language for, starting the meeting, requesting updates, assigning tasks, and so crucially clarifying any ambiguities.
Absolutely. The language you use in a meeting has to be precise. It has to be efficient and direct, but you still have to remain polite.
Yeah.
Any ambiguity that you introduce during a meeting, it gets amplified into real project risk down the line.
Okay, so let's start with phase A, starting and updating. The initiation phase. It's all about linguistic signaling, right?
Yeah.
Shifting the focus from side chatter to directed work.
Yes.
The dialogue starts with the manager saying, "All right, everyone, let's get started."
That phrase, "all right, everyone, let's get started," is indispensable. It's the verbal equivalent of, striking a gavel in a courtroom.
Right. Order in the court.
Basically, it's polite because it includes everyone, but it's a firm standard transition signal. It tells the team, without needing an apology or some long justification, that it's time to put away your personal devices and give your collective attention to the shared agenda.
Okay, so attention is secured. The next immediate step is requesting updates. Our source uses this polite directive. Daniel, could you give us a quick update?
Mm-hmm.
And the use of that modal verb, could you, seems really important, even if you are the senior manager in the room.
Oh, that politeness is the absolute foundation of effective leadership communication. Could you frames the task as a request for cooperation.
Not demand it.
Not a demand. It reinforces Daniel's autonomy and his responsibility rather than being some top-down order. And furthermore, the request for a quick update sets the expectation for brevity and for focus.
Right. We're not looking for a novel.
No, we're not looking for the whole history of the project. We are seeking the immediate current status. That efficiency is professional language in action.
And this leads us to the structure of what a truly professional update looks like. Daniel's response in the material is a fantastic model. I think we should all just internalize this. Sure, we completed the user interface redesign, and we're currently testing the final features. We expect to finish by next Wednesday.
This is a masterclass in professional reporting.
Why?
Because it achieves maximum information transfer in minimum time. It does this by hitting 3 key structural points, which should be the checklist for every single professional update you give.
Okay, what are they?
Number 1, completed tasks. This is the past, the achievement. We completed the user interface redesign. This shows measurable progress and it establishes momentum.
Okay, so what you've done.
What you've done. Number 2, current activities. This is the present, the focus, and we're currently testing the final features. This defines the current bottleneck or the immediate point of focus for the team.
What are you doing now?
Right. And finally, number 3, a clear timeline. This is the future, the commitment. We expect to finish by next Wednesday. This provides a concrete, measurable future date, which allows everyone else in the room to schedule their own work around the project.
That structure is so powerful because it immediately contrasts with the vague updates that we've all heard a million times. Yeah, I've been working on the UI and I'm still testing. It's coming along.
Exactly. That vague update forces the manager to ask follow-up questions. Coming along how? What have you actually finished? When should I expect this to be done?
Right.
Daniel's structure, with the past, present, future, it proactively answers those three unspoken questions. And that demonstrates control and detailed planning. That right there is the definition of a high-value communication nugget.
Okay, so that's the update. Moving on, the manager's role then shifts instantly to proactive resource management. The question in the script is, great, and do you need any additional support from the team?
This is such a great management move. It's a proactive statement that signals a supportive environment.
Mm-hmm.
The manager removes that psychological barrier of Daniel having to put his hand up and ask for help, which can sometimes feel like you're admitting failure.
Sure, like you can't handle your own work.
Exactly. This question communicates that resource shortfalls are just an expected part of complex projects. They're not a personal failing.
And Daniel's response, making a very specific request, is crucial. He says, actually, yes, I'd like to request 2 people to help with user testing. It would speed up the process. He's not vague at all.
That specificity is absolutely key. He quantifies the need, 2 people, and crucially, he provides the justification. It would speed up the process.
The why.
The why. This frames the request not as, help, I am struggling and behind, but as, I have a strategic plan to optimize our timeline, and this is the necessary resource investment to achieve it.
Right.
A request that comes with a justification is immediately going to be prioritized over some generalized plea for help.
Okay, but let's play devil's advocate for a second. What if the manager, let's call her Maya, genuinely cannot spare 2 people? The team is swamped. How does she professionally refuse that request, or maybe counter it, without sounding uncooperative?
That's a very realistic scenario. A professional refusal has to do 2 things. It has to acknowledge the validity of the request while presenting an alternative resource solution.
Okay.
So Maya might say something like, that's a critical need, Daniel, I agree, but the team is stretched really thin this week. How about this? I can allocate Sarah for a half day tomorrow, but maybe we can discuss shifting priority on Luis's documentation task instead. We need to find the right balance.
Okay, so she's problem solving with him.
Yes. She validates the request. That's a critical need. She explains the constraint. The team is stretched thin. And then she offers a conditional compromise. It keeps the whole collaborative spirit alive.
Perfect. So, assuming the resources are allocated, the professional response from the delegated team members, Sarah and Luis in this case, it has to show immediate commitment. Sarah says, absolutely, happy to help. And Luis adds, same here.
This is the acceptance phase. They use strong, proactive, positive words. Absolutely. Happy to help. They aren't just confirming that they'll comply.
Right, not like, oof, fine.
Not at all. They are signaling engagement and a can-do attitude, which contributes massively to team morale and, frankly, to the speed of the project.
And then Luis takes that commitment a crucial step further with what the source calls immediate action planning. He says, Daniel, can we meet after this to review the testing plan?
This phrase encapsulates ownership and a focus on implementation. Luis doesn't wait for the task to be formally scheduled or for someone to put a meeting on his calendar. He immediately links the new task to a concrete plan of action. He's demonstrating that he prioritizes its successful execution.
So the phrase, can we meet after this, really means I am making this a priority right now.
Precisely. And that is a signal that is highly, highly valued in any fast-paced professional environment.
Okay, phase C, Q&A and clarification. The manager then smoothly transitions to the next phase.
Perfect.
Moving on, does anyone have questions or suggestions regarding the launch timeline?
That phrase, moving on, is so essential for pacing a meeting.
It seems so simple.
It is, but it creates a definitive breakpoint. It ensures that the discussion on the previous topic is concluded and that the team's focus shifts cleanly to the next item. If you don't use strong transitions like that, discussions can just drift backwards and you'll never get through your agenda.
Good point. So Sarah uses her opportunity here for checking assumptions, which, as you mentioned before, is a vital use of meeting time. She asks, yes, I have a quick question. Are we still aiming for the end of month announcement?
This is critical. Assumptions, especially around key dates like a launch, they are project killers.
Yeah.
Sarah isn't challenging the manager here. She's ensuring there's a collective shared reality in the room. And the structure of her question, it's focused on confirmation, are we still aiming for, is very direct and efficient.
And the manager's response shows expert communication in what's called managing expectations. The line is, yes, that's still the plan, but we'll confirm once testing is complete.
This response it beautifully combines clarity with conditionality.
Okay, break that down.
Yes, that's still the plan, gives reassurance. It maintains the project's momentum. But the immediate caveat, but we'll confirm once testing is complete, manages risk. It explicitly links the future outcome, the announcement, directly to the current effort, the testing. It makes the entire team aware that the goal is fixed, but the final go-ahead is contingent on successfully executing this current phase.
It's transparent.
Transparent, realistic, and highly professional.
So, to summarize this entire very detailed segment on meetings, the ultimate takeaway is that the language needs to be driven by efficiency and clear action signals.
That's right.
Every sentence really has to serve a purpose. Prioritizing what the source says are short, clear sentences with polite requests and clear actions.
And just remember, the structure of your verbal update reflects the structure of your thinking.
That's good.
If your language is disorganized and vague, your project will appear disorganized. But if your language is structured, if it's concise, and if it's focused on that past, present, and future action, you project competence and control.
Okay, so now we make the jump from real-time verbal communication to the asynchronous written word.
Yeah.
Email.
The danger zone.
It really is. This is arguably where tone is most easily lost, and therefore where mastering professional phrasing is most vital. We have to focus on the difference between a direct request and a softened one.
This is maybe the most critical cultural lesson in professional English. What might be acceptable as, efficient brevity in some contexts?
Like a quick Slack message or something.
Exactly. That same brevity can be perceived as demanding, even rude, in a client-facing email or a formal request you're sending to a senior leader. We have to learn the art of what I'll call professional linguistic padding.
Linguistic padding, I like it. Let's start with the example we're explicitly told to avoid. The direct draft. I'll read it. Hi, John. I need the updated files ASAP. Send them today if possible.
Oof. Okay, let's analyze the psychological cost of this draft.
Psychological cost, okay.
The phrase, I need, immediately places the recipient, John, in a subordinate position to your urgency. It just reads as entitlement.
Right. My need is more important than whatever you're doing.
Exactly. And furthermore, the use of ASAP, soon as possible, is almost universally disliked in high-level professional communication.
I hate it.
Everyone does. It conveys panic, it fails to provide any context, and it shifts the entire responsibility for prioritizing the request onto the recipient.
I remember reading a piece of research once that suggested ASAP should be banned from email because it rarely means immediately. It really means at your earliest inconvenience.
That's a fantastic way to put it, is a total abdication of the sender's responsibility to prioritize their own request. Now, contrast that psychological aggression with the professional standard, the softened revision.
Okay, here's the revised version. Hi, John, could you please send the updated files at your earliest convenience? It would help us stay on schedule.
The difference is just night and day, isn't it?
Completely. It achieves the exact same goal, getting the files, but it preserved the relationship entirely.
So let's look at the transformation. The shift from the imperative, I need, to the conditional request. Could you please send?
Just that one word could.
That single modal verb could instantly transforms the demand into a respectful request for cooperation. Then we replace the demanding time constraint, ASAP send them today, with the beautifully polite, open-ended phrase, at your earliest convenience.
Right.
And critically, we add the justification that appeals to cooperation. It would help us stay on schedule.
So it's a shared goal.
Yes. You are no longer demanding service from John. You are seeking collaborative help to maintain a shared objective.
This brings us right to the core linguistic lesson here, the aha moment for anyone listening. The source material actually provides the blueprint for this softening mechanism. Let's break down those rules.
These are the linguistic tools that should just become second nature for professional writing. There are 3 primary mechanisms we can use to professionally soften our requests.
Okay, number 1.
Number 1 is using modal verbs. Could you or would you? This is fundamental. It shifts the sentence from a command like send the report to a question about their capacity and willingness. Could you send the report? It gives the recipient agency, even if compliance is, pretty much expected.
It's respectful. Okay, what's the second mechanism?
The second is conditionality and indirectness, using a phrase like, would you mind?
Would you mind is even softer than could you.
It is. It formally acknowledges that your request might actually be an inconvenience for them. When you use this, you're showing extreme consideration. It's perfect for requests that truly fall outside of what that person's immediate responsibilities are.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Think about, would you mind reviewing this draft before you leave for the day versus, could you review this draft? The first one acknowledges you're asking them to do something at the end of their workday.
Okay, I see the difference. And the third tool?
The 3 is what we can call temporal softeners. Phrases like, when you have a chance, or the one we saw, at your earliest convenience. These phrases show complete respect for the recipient's schedule. They manage expectations by suggesting that while your request is important to you, the sender, except that they may have more urgent pre-existing tasks. It just takes the pressure off.
Let's explore let's call it the formality ladder here. Yeah. If I'm emailing a close colleague, someone I have lunch with every day, what's the safest option?
Okay.
And then on the other end, if I'm emailing the CEO of a potential new client for the first time, what's the highest level of softening I need to use?
Great question. For a close colleague, you can often get away with the basic, could you send me that file when you have a minute?
When you have a minute.
Yeah, relationship allows for a less formal temporal softener like that. However, when you're addressing a potential client or a high-level executive you don't know well, you have to use the maximum level of professional distance.
So what does that sound like?
That means using the fully formed phrase.
Yeah.
Something like, would you mind sending over the materials at your earliest convenience, as it would greatly assist our team in finalizing the proposal?
Okay, that's very formal.
It is. It's formal, it's deferential, and it minimizes any perceived intrusion on their time.
This is fascinating to me because what we're really demonstrating here is that what looks like passive language, all this softening of the request, is actually a very powerful tool for active relationship management.
That's it, exactly. It is strategic power disguised as politeness.
Right.
You're using indirect language not to confuse the person, but to proactively reinforce mutual respect. If you repeatedly use demanding language in your emails, you exhaust your professional capital with people.
You become that person.
But if you consistently use softening language, you build goodwill, you make your colleagues want to cooperate with your requests, even when they're inconvenient. Those extra few seconds it takes to type, could you please, are an invaluable investment in your future collaborative success.
So we've established the foundation of respect in casual talk, in meetings, and in email. Now we have to confront the inevitable bad news.
The tough stuff.
Reporting problems and delays. The goal here is absolutely critical: to provide a template for delivering negative updates without assigning blame or sounding panicked, and focusing strictly on solution-oriented language.
This is the true measure of a professional communicator, I think.
How so?
Because when bad news hits, the conversation structure is paramount. The difference between a professional report of an issue and just a panicked admission of failure is often just 4 or 5 key phrases.
Okay, so let's walk through it. Phase A. Initiating the difficult conversation. The script says the initiation must show respect for the manager's immediate focus. It starts with, Maya, do you have a moment?
That phrase, do you have a moment, is essential when you have to deliver difficult news.
Why not just jump in?
Because it ensures the recipient is mentally prepared to pivot from whatever they're currently working on to problem-solving mode. You never, ever ambush someone with bad news. It gives them a brief window to, take a breath and mentally prepare to switch gears.
Okay, that makes sense. Then comes the soft lead-in for reporting the issue. The source uses, we've run into a small issue with the server migration. The use of small issue is interesting to me.
It's very tactical wording. Using small issue minimizes immediate alarm. It prevents an overreaction from the manager.
Right. You're not trying to set off fireworks.
No. You're framing the situation as manageable. This establishes a calm, rational tone for the rest of the conversation. It suggests this is a controlled setback, not some full-blown disaster.
Okay, but let me push back on that a little bit. If it turns out to be a major 2-day delay, isn't calling it a small issue kind of dishonest? And won't that erode trust later on?
That is a brilliant point, and the professional has to balance that calmness with honesty.
Okay.
You use small issue to manage the initial emotional response, not to deceive them about the timeline. The moment after that soft lead-in, you have to immediately follow up with the quantified facts. No. If the problem is truly disastrous, you adjust the soft lead-in, you might say. We've encountered a significant technical complexity with the server migration that requires immediate attention.
Significant technical complexity.
You use complexity instead of issue or problem, but you still maintain that solution-focused, non-panicked tone.
That distinction between issue and complexity is a great linguistic tool. Okay, so regardless of which lead-in you use, you immediately follow it with quantifying the delay. The line is, it's taking longer than expected, so we may need an extra day or two.
This is the absolute priority. Never, ever report a problem without also bringing an associated timeline change. And always try to quantify it.
Right.
May need an extra day or two is specific and it's measurable. And also analyze the conditionality in there. We may need. This avoids absolute certainty. It suggests that while a delay is likely, the team is still actively trying to mitigate the duration.
So it's not a done deal yet.
Exactly. It replaces that vague sense of worry with measurable expectations, which allows the manager to start planning mitigation strategies right away.
Okay. Phase B, diagnosis and solution. The manager's response is equally crucial, and it focuses strictly on facts. Thanks for letting me know. What's the main cause of the delay?
Yes. The professional manager focuses on the system, not the person.
Right, not whose fault is this?
Never. They ask for the root cause. What's the main cause? Because that's the necessary first step to finding a permanent solution. The tone has to be inquisitive and collaborative, never accusatory.
And the team member, in response, identifies the root cause clearly and factually. Some compatibility problems with the new system.
Short, factual, technical, no emotional language, no excuses, no blaming other departments, just the objective reason for the setback.
Right.
If they had blamed a person, that would just escalate the conversation unnecessarily. The focus stays squarely on the technical challenge.
And this next part, I think, is the most important. It has to be followed immediately by the crucial element, the assurance of action. The line is, but the team is already working on it, and we should have it resolved soon.
This is the centerpiece of all crisis communication. You must immediately shift the psychological focus from the problem to the resolution.
From problem to solution.
Yes. The phrase, the team is already working on it, reassures the manager that there was no delay in action, that resources have already been deployed. Furthermore, we should have it resolved soon, reinforces commitment and a sense of control. The true professional never presents a raw problem. They present a problem that is already being actively managed.
Okay, finally, phase C, managerial support. The manager wraps up this difficult conversation with clear instruction and support, which cements that collaborative framework. All right, please keep me updated and let me know if you need additional resources.
This reinforces the cycle of accountability and support. Keep me updated maintains the necessary information flow, preventing future surprises. And the phrase, let me know if you need additional resources, is the manager's commitment to providing resource backing. It transforms the whole conversation from a report of failure into a unified, team-based problem-solving session.
So this whole dialogue sequence, it really serves as a template.
It does. Report clearly, quantify the issue, state the cause factually, assure them action is being taken, and maintain open communication.
The goal, as the source material makes so clear, is to communicate problems professionally and, quote, without blaming anyone or sounding negative. It's about being the person who brings the solution, not just the messenger of the bad news.
That's the key.
All right, we've reached our final segment. We're going to talk about professionally signing off at the end of the day. Now, this might seem simple, maybe even trivial, but this brief dialogue carries some significant weight in terms of accountability and setting professional boundaries.
It absolutely does. This moment, this short exchange, it defines the closure of the workday's obligations. It's the final check to ensure that you haven't left any urgent, critical tasks unaddressed. And it really solidifies your reputation as a reliable team member.
Okay, so the essential check. The material says this should be highly responsible and proactive. The line is, Maya, I'm heading out now. Is there anything you need from me before I go?
That question is the professional equivalent of securely locking the project files for the night.
That's a great analogy.
Is there anything you need from me before I go? It ensures all the urgent, immediate needs are covered. And crucially, it prevents the manager from thinking of a critical last-minute task 5 minutes after you've left, only to find they can't reach you.
Oh, that's the worst feeling on both sides.
It is. So this demonstrates responsibility and proactive closure. It respects the manager's need for security and for information flow.
Okay, but what if they do need something? The professionals should be prepared for a quick, targeted request, right? Like, actually, could you quickly draft that short email summary for me to review tomorrow?
Right. And how you handle that depends on the size of the request. If it's small and quick, you handle it immediately and you clarify the expectation. Sure, I can do that quickly, but anything longer will have to wait until tomorrow.
Okay.
But if the request is large and impossible to do right then, you use that softening language we discussed earlier.
Right, from the email segment.
Exactly.
Thanks.
You'd say, that sounds important, Maya. Since I'm heading out now, would you mind if I prioritize that first thing tomorrow morning? You're maintaining the cooperation while still enforcing the professional boundary of the workday's end.
That is so smooth. Okay, so assuming there are no urgent issues, the closing exchange then proceeds with affirmation and standard farewells. The affirmation from the manager is, no, that's all for today. Thanks for your hard work.
That positive feedback, thanks for your hard work, is a small yet really meaningful acknowledgement of the day's effort.
Yeah, feels good to hear.
It does. And these small acts of recognition contribute significantly to maintaining team cohesion and morale, especially at the end of a long or a difficult day.
And it's followed by the standard polite exchange, great, have a good evening. And the response, you too. See you tomorrow.
And that simple dialogue, it reinforces mutual respect and responsibility. It clearly signals that the workday is officially over. It cements those professional boundaries and ensures a clean, confirmed slate for the following morning. It's the professional punctuation mark on a successful day of communication.
A punctuation mark. I like that. Wow. That was an incredibly detailed analysis of the professional language structures you need across the entire workday. We didn't just list a bunch of phrases. We really dissected the function and the strategy behind them.
We tried to get into the why.
We absolutely did. We covered 5 crucial scenarios, establishing that initial respect with light greetings.
Before.
Structuring efficiency in meetings, the art of softening those high-stakes requests in email,
So important.
the solution-focused approach to problem reporting, and that final check of the professional sign-off.
And I think the core theme that runs through every single one of these dialogues is the consistent strategic use of polite and structured language.
Yeah.
This approach ensures that whether you are just asking how someone is, or you're requesting a major update, or you're reporting a significant server crash, the underlying structure always prioritizes cooperation. It minimizes emotional friction, and it maintains mutual respect.
So the big takeaway for you, the listener, is this. Professional fluency in English isn't really achieved by expanding your vocabulary list.
Not at all.
It's achieved by mastering these specific conversational structures. They act as a direct, actionable shortcut to sounding confident, authoritative, and, just natural in any workplace setting, because you're speaking the language of effective business.
And this leads us to the final provocative thought we want to leave you with. We spent a good amount of time analyzing phrases like, at your earliest convenience, and would you mind?
Right, the softening language.
Right. And we now understand that this, what looks like passive softening language, is actually a potent tool for active relationship management. So we want to encourage you to do a little audit. Think about your next 10 professional interactions, both written and verbal. When you have a tight deadline, are you relying on the language of entitlement? Are you just demanding compliance? Or are you effectively using professional softness to ensure that even under extreme pressure, you are building rather than eroding the professional rapport that is going to serve you for your entire career?
Go forth, communicate clearly, and we'll see you in the next deep dive.